Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and this is the summary for the day of 668 to 669 for the 23rd to the 24th of December, which is also known as Christmas Eve. And today is Christmas Day, so Merry Christmas to all of you. And major news, there seems to be some kind of coordinated massive Ukrainian counteroffensive sort of ongoing. You can kind of call it the Christmas counteroffensive. So let's watch and see how this goes. So major news first is that 3 different Russian aircraft got shot down. One over in the Donetsk region, one in the Mariupol region. They call it the Mariupol sector. The other one is the Donetsk region. And there's another one, these two are Sukhoi 34s and a Sukhoi 30 SM was shot down over the Black Sea. This is reported by the Ukrainian Air Force. So 3 different Russian aircraft got shot down. So this is actually a very interesting development. But the Russians are also claiming their own shoot downs of aircraft. According to the Russian Defense Ministry, they claim that they have shot down 4 different aircraft, 3 Sukhoi 37 and 1 Sukhoi 24 over at Shirokoye, Odarovka and Grigorovka. So which is basically over here at Shiroke in the Zaporizhzhia region, and then there is another one over here at Odarovka and another one over at Kharkovka. Yeah, there is 4. So they put 4 aircraft, but they put 3 locations. So I'm not sure which location actually have the double shot downs. So you just know that in this it concentrated mainly around this area here, whereas the Ukrainians managed to shoot down Russian aircraft over at these 3 different locations. So if there was some kind of deployment of Patriot systems around here, then maybe there might be another Patriot system that was newly established around this area. So this area, let's zoom in. This is probably around the Donetsk Front. It could be a possibility that is around Constantinople. That is a possibility, dealing with this massive Russian offensive happening around the Novomikhailivka region. So that is a possibility that there is another of this Patriot battery that's being deployed. It's important to note that I don't think the Ukrainians have any more S-300s. So they used to have S-300. The S-300 actually outraged the Patriot missiles, but then there is no more S-300s as far as I can tell. So which is why they are demanding for a lot of these surface-to-air missile system that is a Western one, like the NASAM, like the Patriots and whatnot. So, but among all these Western systems, only the Patriot actually have decent range. So this is actually something I would think that is important to note, and probably the only system that can deal with fat bombs, the bombs with the wings, that can fly. Not like a butterfly, no, but they just glide. So glide bombs actually. So we get planes issues away. So let's move on to the Kherson Front or the Southern Front. At the Southern Front, there was geolocation of a Lancet strike of on Ukrainian vessels over here in the western part of Okerev. So the Lancet actually hit this the boat around this area here, which is actually very surprising because we never see a Lancet hitting the shipyard in this Mykolaiv region. So that's actually very, very interesting to me. Over at this the Krinky beachhead, fighting continues over in this region here. Ukrainians continue to have a presence at Krinky. They are still continuing to send reinforcement to Krinky to hold this position, while the Russians continue to try to push them out. There is some claims of success, limited success, but I doubt so. I don't think that there is anything significant over this region here. So the battle continues over at Krinky, and it's getting very cringy. So we move on over at the Zaporizhzhia Front. This is Zaporizhzhia city, then this is the Zaporizhzhia Front. At the Zaporizhzhia Front, other than the planes that was shot down over in this region here, over at the Orekhiv sector, the Russian forces continuing their offensive over in this sector, with fighting reported in the northwestern part of Verbove, at the western part of Verbove, in the eastern western part of Robotine, And there is also a claim of fighting reported in the area of Mala-Tomashka. So there is no Ukrainian offensive being reported, or counteroffensive being reported in this area here. So according to Ryba's information, the concentration of attacks is mainly over at this northwestern part of Verbove, or the northern part of Verbove. This is actually the main push, not in this area here, not this one. And the other push is actually over here. So the Mala-Tomashka one is reported by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. So I'm not sure how to look at it because the front line doesn't seem to be there. It's actually still at Novoporovska. So fighting in this area here was reported. Oh, sorry, it's by Russian Defense Ministry. It's not the Ukrainians. So they say that they attacked Ukrainian forces near Malaya-Tomashka. So it could be a point where it could be this attack from Novoporovska towards Mala-Tomashka. It is a possibility. We are not so sure. We shall continue to monitor and see what's the situation. Because the fighting over in this area usually is being mentioned as west of Novoporovska, according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. So if let's say the Russians actually have some kind of progress in this area that was unreported, then the next stop is actually Mala-Tomashka itself. So that is not exactly wrong. So we shall continue to wait and see how this goes. Nearby, over at the Huaypole sector, there is fighting reported at Merne. According to the Russian Defense Ministry, the Ukrainian Defense Ministry reported fighting in the south of Huaypole. So this Huaypole, so the Russians are attacking the south, and the Russians reported they attacked in Merne. So including the fighting at Mala-Tomashka, this is actually very interesting. You can see that the Russians are actually making a new sector of attack, a new direction of attack in this area here. So I'm not sure if this attack here is a diversionary attempt for the Ukrainians to actually get deployed, to share some of these forces over to the Huaypole sector, so that the Russians can actually make a better offensive operation in this area. We shall wait and see how if this is the case. So we move on. Over at the Velika Novosilka sector, there is geolocation of Ukrainian forces getting attacked by bombardments. But the Ukrainian Defense Ministry report the Russians attack in the southwestern part of Staromayorsky. So this is Staromayorsky. The Russians are reportedly attacking in the southwestern part. So they can't really attack from the south because generally there's a river over here, the Mokryali River. So any attacks against Staromayorsky actually come from the southwest of the western part of the settlement. So the Russians are attacking probably in this area here. I'm not sure if this is an attempt to storm Staromayorsky or to capture it, but I don't think so. The feeling, I don't get it. I don't feel it. So you need more feeling. The Russians need to give me more feelings so that I can feel it. But this feeling comes from the Ukrainians, so it doesn't feel it. We move on to the Donetsk Front. This is the Donetsk Front. At the Donetsk Front, the fighting continues over at this Marinka-Novo-Mikhailivka region. Particularly over in the Novo-Mikhailivka region, the latest situation over at Novo-Mikhailivka, the Ukrainian forces seems to have secured back the farm, this farm region here, and as such, geolocation have shown that they now are getting bombarded in this area here. Particularly this geolocation by Kreminna Front, they are hitting the Ukrainians with all sort of weaponry like cluster munitions, the thermobaric explosions, and other type of artillery systems. So there is geolocation of Ukrainian forces, the tank operating at this location, this particular one. So which means that the Ukrainians actually have pushed the Russians out currently, and which is why they are attracting all this artillery fire. And similarly, we have military submarine geolocating FPV drones attacking Ukrainian forces within the settlement itself, and another one which is also part of this the same bombardments that was reported over at the farm region. So which means the Ukrainian forces are still in control of the entire border of the settlement. The Russians currently are not getting some headways. They are not penetrating through just yet. Also, indeed, the Ukrainian forces are doing a very, very good fight in this area here. One of the main concern or problems with Novo-Mikhailivka, the battle, is that the Russians are actually pushing down or pushing up from this road. And this road is very, very open, super open over in this area here, and the Russians are they're storming and tank rushing this area here, and it's not working out, which is why the current information coming from Deep State UA is that the Russians have shifted the main attack to the around the Revin, which is this valley region here, which is called Revin. A small little valley is called Revin, and towards the center of the village. So which means that the Russians is after they realize that they cannot get through over from this very direct route, they are now trying to go through the this Revin region here to see if they can have better headways. So this is probably where we are going to see the main attack coming into Novomihailivka, as this attempt is not working out for the Russians. So the Russian Defense Ministry also say that the Ukrainians did counterattack in the region, and in their report they mentioned helicopters and artillery, which also let us understand that the Russian offensive in this area here is supported by helicopters. Yeah, it doesn't look like this. So in the north of Novomihailivka, there is also reports coming from Ryba, the pro-Russian source, talking about them capturing a very fortified region called the Zverynets region. So I'm not exactly fully sure this region where it is. I think it's this entire area here. So the Russians are actually pushing in this area and have some success, but I have no updates in terms of the mapping to show this. It could be this entire area, including the managerial region, which is exactly the entire part of this fortification or network or systems. There is another geolocation of the entrenchment. There was pre-war around this area here, but it was so you can see this pre-war, I believe, is much bigger right now, but we do not see any geolocation just yet to prove that the Russians have captured it. I'm not sure if this is part of the Zverynets fortifications. Further up north, over in the Marinka region, the Russian forces is pushing out in the southwestern part of Marinka. They are also attacking towards Grigorivka or Khyovivka, and there is also claim of some success by Surya maps of the Russian forces capturing almost the rest of the entire of the northern part of Marinka. So the Russian Defense Ministry claimed that the Ukrainians counterattack over at the Georgivka region or Khyovivka region. So the fighting is definitely in this area right now, not within Marinka itself now. So we shall continue to wait and see. The fighting over in the southwest is reported by the Deep State UA, the pro-Ukrainian source, whereas the attack in the region, in the Marinka region, is by Ukrainian Defense Ministry. Surya maps talk about the northern part of Marinka, and and the Russians say that the fighting is at Georgivka. So everybody is talking about a different part of this front line. So you can pick your own poison, or you can believe all of them. Like for me, I believe all of them. So which means the fighting is in all over all this region, which is the main reason why I cover all sides, because then the information, the intelligence, the intel is actually more complete. So that's the reason why. And also I felt like it's been a long time since I talked about this, so it's important to remember that what I did not report doesn't mean it doesn't happen. So for example, there could be an attack against Podyeda and towards Paraskovievka. Maybe it's happening, but no one is reporting about it. So I did not report it doesn't mean that it's not happening. So I think this is a very important thing to note, in case you guys are I'm not the arbiter of truth. I'm also not the only. Not everything I say is true as well, because it's purely dependent on the sources. So if the sources don't say something, or they say something that is wrong, then I'm wrong. So or I'm missing certain information. So this is just important to note. Don't just jump to conclusions. Always have this half cup empty kind of mindset when we look at information. I'm not sure if that's a good metaphor, but just run with it. You understand what I mean. We move on to the Avdiivka Front. So this is the Avdiivka Front. This nipple is looking weird. In the Avdiivka Front, we have the Russians continuing their Avdiivka offensive, which is rather impressive considering that it's still ongoing. So fighting is reported south of Novokalinove, east of Novobakhmutivka, at Stepove towards the coke plant. In the south over the industrial area at Zhevny, at Pervomaisky, and Nevelsky. So this is currently the strategic situation, with the Russians are continuing to make this push out towards Ocheretiny to capture Novokalinove, Ocheretiny towards Berdyansk, and also to put pressure over in the north of Avdiivka. This is also putting pressure in the south. This is just to force Ukrainian forces into this area here. And of course, the Russians are also pushing over in the Zhevny region towards Donetsk and towards Avdiivka as the primary target, and to cut off the road, as well as continuing to push out in this area here towards the water bodies just northwest of Netilove, because our water bodies are always perfect places for defensive position, and we can definitely imagine that the Russians want this defense line around this area here, and they will secure Avdiivka for the long time to come. But definitely from here to here is forever, so you know it's going to take a very long time. We move on away from the Avdiivka Front into the New York Front. This is New York, and at the New York Front, there is fighting reported in the area of New York, according to the Russian Defense Ministry. The other name from New York is actually called Nogorodskoye, or Nohorodskoye, or Nohorodsky. So that is the other name for New York. New York is a Ukrainian name. So or at least the Ukrainians have changed it back to this one. So the fighting is reported probably in this area here. As you can see, there's a massive defense line around here. So which is why I would never expect Russians to push through in this direction. It makes zero sense. Zero sense. And there's also fighting reported in the Pivdene region, with the Ukrainian forces also attacking in this area here. So again, I will still assume that this entire front line towards Avdiivka, this is Avdiivka, this direction towards Avdiivka is purely diversionary, I feel. I don't think this is a serious attempt, because if they are serious about capturing Avdiivka, they would have done it during the counteroffensive. But they didn't, so it makes no sense to try it now, because there's much more desperate situations around them. There is also fighting reported in the area of Privnishny, according to the Russian Defense Ministry, also known as Kirovo. So in the New York Front, it's all Ukrainian. This is part of this Ukrainian Christmas offensive that I'm talking about. It's very amazing that 3 different locations along the New York Front, which is usually the very sleepy front, is reporting is getting all these reports of offensive operations. We move into the Bakhmut Front. This is the Bakhmut city, and at the southern part of the Bakhmut Front, Ukrainian forces reportedly attack in the area of Dilievka, with the Russians attacking Andriivka and Klishevka region. So far, we don't have much about the Dilievka one. This is reported by the Russian Defense Ministry. Similarly, Andriivka and Klishevka is usually also very lack of information. In the Klishevka, we also don't have much. There is, however, geolocation by Crimea caprice of Ukrainian forces getting shelled in this forest region, which is actually interesting, because supposedly the Russians have already captured this area here. So we will continue to watch if this can be corroborated further, that this is actually more recent than past, which means that this is not a dated one. So we will wait for more geolocations to see if the Ukrainians actually successfully counterattack, or the Russians have never succeeded getting past. We shall wait and see. Further up north, the Russians are attacking in the southwestern part of Bakhmut, pushing towards Ivanivsky. Information is reported by DPA UA and the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, all both claiming about fighting near Ivanivsky. The Russians, however, say that the Ukrainians are counterattacking in the area of Ivanivsky, so we shall wait and see how this develops. We don't have very clear information. What we do know is that the Russians are pushing out in this area, as well as through the Dacha region, moving towards Ivanivsky. So we shall wait. Further up north, there is some frontline changes in terms of the area of Kromove and Bodanivka. According to the Ukrainian defense, according to Deep State UA, Deep State UA reported that the Russian forces actually withdrew from the cemetery region. So that actually sounds like a joke, because the Russians are retreating from the cemetery. It sounds like necromancy, you know, it sounds like they come back to life. So that's a bit funny to me. And so the Russians are withdrawing from this area here because I don't think they are, maybe it's due to heavy bombardments, or they are unable to hold a good defensive position around this area here. And the concentration of Russian forces currently around this racetrack. And if this is the case, and this is reported by the Ukrainian side, then I will probably see a major push out from this region in the near future. I should use yellow. Yeah, in the near future, we shall probably see another offensive operation. So fighting is reported in this area as per reported by Deep State UA. Further up, so the geolocation, you can see the Ukrainian lines have actually moved forward a bit as compared to previously. So I can show you what is previously. So this is previously. Previously the line is actually here. This is the line, and as you can see now, the line is actually moved forward a bit towards the racing track. So further up north, there is a geolocation by Crimean cavalry of Ukrainian forces getting bombarded in this forest line, but I'm not sure if this is actually recent, so which is why I continue to leave this gray zone over here. The Russian forces continue their attack over at Avdiivka. So the Russian forces within Avdiivka itself, they entering the settlement is now confirmed, because both Russian and Ukrainian sources is talking about it. However, how deep have they went in is different. According to the Deep State UA, they say that the Russians advanced between 300 to 500 meters, around half a kilometer, whereas Ryba straight out just say advanced up to half kilometers towards the center of the settlement. So if we look at from a distance from the border of the settlement, half a kilometer is somewhere around here. So this is half a kilometer, which means the Russians are only up to this point. So we shall continue to wait and see. This currently, you know, how we mapped it. We mapped that the Ukrainian forces is currently here, but considering where the gray zones could be, you know, the front line, no man's land kind of thing, then it is possible that this is where the front line is. We shall wait and see how this develops. But this is very interesting that we have both Deep State UA and Ryba corroborating each other. This is something that I love to see because it let us know that the information is actually accurate. So another development is over in the northern part of Avdiivka. Everyone is basically, it is quite corroborated with the Russian forces attacking through the north and capturing some of these tree lines around this area here. This area here is reported by Surya Maps. They claim that the Russians, he claimed that the Russians have actually expanded their control zone to this area here, as per I have updated the map accordingly. So further up north, there is fighting reported towards Krychorivka or Gregorivka, according to Surya Maps. Information is from Surya Maps, and the Russian forces apparently have captured more grounds around this area here and moving closer and closer towards Krychorivka. And that's all over in the Donetsk Bakhmut Front. We move into the Siversk Front. At the Siversk Front, the Ukrainian forces, let me check if this is correct, repelled correct. Ukrainian forces launched a series of counterattack in different regions at Vasilkivka, at Sprne, and over at Bilohorivka. So it's interesting. It's quite varied. But of significance is actually over at Bilohorivka in the Luhansk region. The Ukrainian forces have been geolocated further up outside of Bilohorivka along the tree lines. And this, according to this, you can see that over in the overlap, this is actually quite a significant amount of land that was recaptured by the Ukrainian forces. So this is actually exactly what all these Ukrainian offensive that was being reported previously, probably talking about 16th of December, and there is probably offensive actions that is not reported. The Russians are now, according to the Deep State UA, the pro-Ukrainian source, reporting that the Russians are attacking Bilohorivka near the river, which means that it's in the north. So the Russians are currently attacking here, with the Ukrainians some time ago have successfully recaptured all these forest line that they previously lost. And so the Russians are now counter-attacking in the Bilohorivka region. It is always fascinating how difficult the fighting over at Bilohorivka is. And the Google Maps mapping over in this area here is actually updated. So you can see this mapping, the map data here is 2023, and you can see all these artillery marks, all these pimples all over the place. It's like, this Bilohorivka have never washed his face, and all this outbreak has basically scarred his face by this much. So this is actually Bilohorivka for you. So wash your face, don't be lazy. We move on to Kreminna. So this is Kreminna. At the Kreminna Front, the Ukrainian forces has attacked in the area of eastern part of Terny, over at Torske, over at Dibrova, south of Kuzmine. And this one is not within the Siversk Forestry. What it was written was western outskirt of Siversk Forestry. But I do not know where is the western part of the Siversk Forestry, because the forest just keep going and keep going. It just keep going and keep going, so it makes no sense to say west. So I suspect that it might be talking about Dibrova or Torske. So I'm not going to draw this blue arrow around this area here. However, what we do know is that the Russians are pushing within the Siversk Forestry as well as near Terny. So this is currently happening. So this is the strategic situation, ignoring the green line. Over at the Terny region, we have a number of geolocations. These two is where the Russian armored column around, from my quick scrolling through of the video, is around 2 tanks, 2 APC, and the APC are filled with soldiers, or rather, there's a lot of soldiers sitting on it. So it was an assault detachment, mechanized detachment. They are attacking towards the Ukrainian position, and then they got attacked by the Ukrainian drones around this area here. There is another geolocation of Ukrainians getting shelled while they're doing rotation. So the front line is definitely around this area here. So the fighting is currently still ongoing, with the Russians are making quite serious push around this area here. We shall see how this goes. However, this is actually quite a big place. This line itself is 8 kilometers. So it's not a small place. So you got to take some time, especially where there's so much forest, and this area is probably very, very heavily fortified. And that's all from the Kreminna Front. Over the Svatove Front, this is Svatove. At the Svatove Front, we have one report of fighting over at Stemakivka. According to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, with the Russians attacking towards Stemakivka. We don't have much information about this, so just leave it at this. We move on into the Kupyansk Front. This is Kupyansk city, and this is the Kupyansk Front. At the Kupyansk Front, the Russian forces continue their Kupyansk offensive as usual at Sikivka. However, we now have reports from the Ukrainian Defense Ministry about fighting at Petropavlivka as well as Ivanivka. Ukrainians are reportedly counter-attacking at Sinkivka as well as Ivanivka. So currently, strategically speaking, it's basically the same. It's just that now we have fighting around this area here again. That's all. And suddenly we also have this resurgence of the report of fighting at Petropavlivka. The previous time it was reported was 17th to 18th of December. So there's quite a long time pause, around a week, before now we are seeing the 23rd to 24th again. But this is reported by the Russian Defense Ministry, so that's interesting. So that's it from the Kupyansk Front. We have nothing over at the Kharkiv Front, and nothing over the border, and that's it. This is the summary for the day of 668 to 669 for the 23rd to 24th of December. Merry Christmas to all of you. Do press the like button, and for those that have not subscribed, please subscribe so that the channel can grow. Because if you don't subscribe, then you are depriving new viewers from discovering this channel. So do help. It's a Christmas season, you can give me present by giving me subscriptions. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next update.